Hi, I'm John with the Fossil Channel, and today I'm going to go over the Yaesu FT1D and why I use it when I'm out in the trails working or hiking. This is a general overview. I'm not going to go into great detail about the menus and all the features of the radio. It is a feature-rich radio. It came out a few years ago around, I believe it was 2012-ish, around that time period. The radio is full analog and digital. The Yaesu FT1D uses a encoding and decoding system called Fusion, and is a proprietary system by Yaesu. This is a 2 meter and 70 centimeter dual band radio. This radio also happens to feature a GPS unit and an APRS function with it. So you can use this for beaconing out and sending messages, even emails, and in some cases pictures too, with the right accessories and adapters. I have an aftermarket dual band kind of whip antenna on this radio. I first saw this radio back in, I think it was 2014, when my brother brought it back, and where he lives out in Minnesota, they have a big Fusion digital repeater system out there. So he got one of these, and I saw it and saw its potential, and I figured I'd grab one too and use it. I've had it since then, and I've used it throughout the years, and it has been pretty rugged. The unit itself is IPX4 rated, and I've used it in the rain and in the mud. I wouldn't necessarily submerge this radio. It's not like the Yaesu VX7R, which is my EDC radio. This one's not as, I would say, rugged. It doesn't have a magnesium type external body. It's actually a hard kind of plastic. That being said, this has a little bit more utility in terms of transmissions. Even though this is a dual bander and the Yaesu VX7R is a quad bander, the Yaesu VX7R is not a digital capable machine, and it doesn't have a modem or an APRS system inside of it. So that can be kind of limiting. I usually take these two out with me when I'm working and I have to do like a patrol on the trail. I'll have this one set to send out a beacon on an APRS frequency, and if I have any trouble identifying where I am, or if I need anybody to find where I am on the trail, as my cell phone doesn't usually work very well, they can easily spot me on a Google map via the APRS.fi website. It works fairly well. It's great for emergencies and coordinating with like search and rescue and whatnot. And it's overall a great radio. I'll turn it on so you can see it's a backlit keypad here. It's got a fine alphanumeric display. It's a lot more high quality than the Yaesu VX7R. You can monitor either, I have it in lock mode, I gotta take it out. You can access the bands A or B. Instead of having two buttons like the previous VX7R, you just switch between the VFOs, the receivers, with A and B here. So, like I said, the A band usually has a wider reception. I have my data sheet here for this one. The main A band, which is what we have on right now, can be 0.5 megahertz AM radio, all the way up to, let's see here, 999 megahertz. And there's some, that's the coverage reception-wise. Transmission-wise, you're looking at standard 2 meter and 70 centimeter transmissions. There are certain, what we'll call modifications that you can do to these radios will allow you to transmit outside the frequencies. First of all, don't do that. That's illegal. Second, these radios are not designed to transmit outside the frequencies, especially if you don't have the correct antenna. But it can do that in a pinch. If you find yourself in an emergency and you happen to know what you're doing, then it could be advantageous to you. But you run the risk of getting fined and all that jazz. So just stick to the regular ham frequencies with these guys. That being said, the B band is usually reserved for the modem APRS transmissions. So right now, you have to wait for this thing to get a GPS lock on to its satellites. And what I'm doing right now is I'm accessing the menu. I don't know if you can see it in the video here, but I'm trying to see what our GPS info is. Okay, so it looks like I got about 1, 2, 3, 4 satellites trying to lock in right now. The bar, it's like a old original handheld GPS. If you're familiar with those old units back in the late 90s and early 2000s, you could see like the bars and like a little map of the GPS satellites locking in. It's kind of like that with the Yaesu screen here. You see the bars going up and down. That indicates, you know, how good your reception is, and if you're getting clear signals, and they're labeled too, so you know which satellite you're getting. So once that locks on, you'll be able to send transmissions out on the B side of the transceiver, and you'll be able to, and you can automatically receive incoming stations, although you're not going to know what their distance and location is because you don't have your own GPS coordinates. Now what's nice about this is that it calculates that for you once it locks into the satellite system, and you don't have to preset or enter pre-values in here. Although I have another model, the Yaesu FT1D. On that model, I could enter preset values even if I didn't have a GPS inbuilt GPS system in here. I haven't tested that with this. I believe you can do that with this radio as well. But let's go over the initial ergonomical design while we're waiting for it to lock on. On the top here, I have a B and C connector. I have a SMA to B and C adapter because this radio also is built with an SMA connector. Now, SMA connectors aren't the best in terms of durability. Most ham radios nowadays are made with SMA connectors. I'm not sure why that is. It could be production value, it could be anything, you know, portability, size. Could be a whole wide variety of reasons for that. But anyway, I have an adapter here to the antenna, and then on the back I have a standard lithium-ion battery. They make these batteries pretty much today, and it's not hard to find these batteries, although they're kind of expensive for this radio. The clip you have to screw on with the screwdriver, and I usually like to have a lanyard on my radios because I like to put this around my wrist when I'm holding it in case I drop it. It kind of doesn't drop that far down to you know, get broken. Although I have dropped this radio before, and it has done a surprisingly good job of not breaking. The knob on top here, that is your rotator knob for a variety of different things, for rotating through a menu, for changing volume. If you wanted to change your volume here, you hold down volume and you move this, and it changes your volume. It's not like the Yaesu VX7R where you have two knobs to rotate, one for VFO and one for volume. This one only has one rotator knob. So by default, it controls the frequency that you see either in the memory or the VFO here. On the side, you have a volume knob, which you hold down and you rotate the knob forward to access different loudness levels. And then you have the open your squelch key here. And then you have the push the transmit button here. And then you have the on and off switch and the lock switch, which is kind of nice. It's kind of convenient. You push it once and it locks the unit, so you can't change it. You push it again and it unlocks it. It could easily come undone probably if you have it in a bad position, but I usually mount this on my backpack with the clip here. The clip is okay. It's not the best. I like my VX7R clip better than this. It's kind of, I don't know, it's not as flexible or as versatile as the other one, even though the other one's big. As you can see here, it's a full DTMF keypad, backlit, and it's just, the speaker on it is actually a lot better than the VX7R. Let me see if I can show you an example of that. So I'm going to lower the volume down a little bit here, and we're going to go into function VFO. Let's do 107. I'll raise the volume on that. So you can hear it's like there's a little bit of bass to it, a little bit more anyway than the tinny sound to the VX7R. I don't mind, either speaker system, honestly, but this is a much more improved speaker. You can hear a little bit more clearly about what other ham radio operators are saying. So I like the speaker a lot better. Just, be advised, when you get these units wet in rain, the water will cover the speaker, and you'll have to turn up the volume because it's basically muffling the sound from getting out. The microphone is pretty decent on this one. I haven't had too many reports on the air where they couldn't make out my sound here. I'm going to turn this off. There we go. Push band. There we go. Yeah, you got to know the finesse about the menu system in here to kind of navigate it. Once you get used to it, you know it for a good amount of time when you're out in the field. Almost all the radios that I have, I program on the front end, meaning I just program it manually, not like with computer software. Now, this came with like a cable, and I didn't get any default software to program it with, so you have to find that online. I don't remember what it's called. And like I said, I just basically program the memories in manually. Now, what I like about this model, the FT1D, is that it basically has a micro SD card on the right bottom half here. And this is kind of a nice little rubber reinforcement on the edges. Kind of like they thought that if you drop this, it might drop on the corner here. And that's a good protection there. But that's where the SD card slot is there. And what that does is you can write your memory to the SD card, and you can read from it and input it into the radio. Meaning if for some reason you lose the memory in the radio, and that has happened to me before on occasion, I think once last year, and I had to re-input my memory. I'm not sure what happened with the radio, but it seemed like a bug or something like that, and I was able to recall my frequencies. So that was nice. You don't get that option with VX7R here, unfortunately. So if you do lose the memory, you have to redo everything. Further up on the side here, you have the data port, which they give you that cable to use to program it with. So that's why it's got a data port. I also think, if I remember correctly, this comes with an accessory for a microphone that takes pictures. So I think it might plug into that port. If not, it'll plug into the mic port up here, which is the mic speaker port. It's a little 3.5 millimeter type jack. And these are rubber grommets here too, which is nice because it keeps out the water, maintaining its IPX4 waterproof rating. And this is the DC plug-in. So they're a little bit more recessed in than the VX7R, which is nice. I would say another, I guess, a con for this one in my usage, these flaps, they eventually dry up the rubber and they break, and it doesn't appear to be any way to easily replace these flaps. So you probably want to go easy on the connectors on this radio if you're going to be opening and closing these rubber seals. To show you a difference on the VX7R, you have a little screwdriver here, and I have had to replace these rubber parts. I've ordered them from Yaesu in Cypress, California, and they're like 20 cents each or whatever, so it's not a big deal, but at least on the older model, I was able to replace certain things on it, and it's sort of not exactly a modular system, but easily serviceable. This one's a little bit less so, but overall, the features that are involved with this radio, it's amazing. It's a different type of tool in some ways than the VX7R, where the VX7R is just a reliable tank out in the field for me. Like, I can depend on it no matter what. This one will be able to transmit my position on a map live, so long as I reach into some sort of tower system connected to the internet. And that's the nice thing about the radio. Whenever you send out a beacon, I don't know if you can see it there on the screen there, but it just showed up with like a little arrow here in the top left, and you can kind of see how far the other station is, what they're using. You can scroll through. Here, I'll function in 0, bring up my station list, and from here you can see what kind of stations that you're receiving and where they are. So, for example, this guy K2YD, let's go check him out. He's about 42.9 miles southeast of me, and you scroll through with the rotator knob here, and you can they can fill out a comment text, and you can read that in the system here. It gives you their latitude and longitude bearings. Pretty good useful stuff to have out in the field if you don't have a internet or a cell phone. This will help you out a lot because it can give you coordinates that you then can relay to your teams or whoever you need it to. I have sent text messages on this radio. It's pretty cool to do. You kind of, it's like the old school way of like typing on a phone, and you go through a certain procedure and it sends it out, and if they're listening, they'll get the text message. So it's quite fun to do that and experiment with that. But yeah, you can see the whole station list of what you received and the dates, and they give you the information on when and where and how far at your location that you received it at. So yeah, and there's another option on here where you can kind of control where you can kind of set a point, and this can tell you like where to go in terms of the last heard station. So I can set it up like that, and it's telling me go southeast 42.9 miles. It tells me the frequency on the top right. So it's kind of nice, the option features in this radio. That's why I have it as a hiking radio, work radio. It offers a little bit more utility than the VX7R in certain aspects, namely in terms of location tagging and just the convenience of having people to be able to track me without me necessarily transmitting all the time. I usually find that when I'm in APRS mode, you can change the settings up here when you want your beacons to go out. For example, there's two modes. There's a smart mode, which is the circle without a dot in it, I believe. And then there's the regular standard beacon mode, which is the circle and the dot together. You can set up to beacon every 15 minutes. You can set the smart beacon on here to transmit if you go above 20 miles an hour every 5 minutes, or to transmit every 20 minutes if you're below 5 miles an hour, for example. So you got a lot of customizable options on how you want to set up your beaconing system. Of course, there's also a manual way of doing it and a way of turning it off, which you won't see a circle there at all. You can simply either from the main menu, you can push function, and down here it says beacon transmit, the blue. So, and that's me transmitting, and it comes back and there's the call sign. So you can manually transmit if you want with this radio, or you can set it to just receive. You can set it to transmit by interval, or by how fast you're going or how slow you're going. So it's a pretty versatile APRS radio. There are other more advanced amateur radios out there, HTs we'll call them, handy talkies, and they do a lot more. The newer ones today in 2019, they come with like full out, colored LCD screens and all these bells and whistles. I mean, this has a lot of bells and whistles to it too, but for my uses, it fits it pretty well. And I'm a pretty big fan of Yaesu. I've have like, I think a whole dozen bunch of Yaesu radios, and they all work pretty well. I've only had to send back 2 radios. That was this one and another black model of this, to get repaired for the ceramic filters. I haven't had any real issues with this radio yet, except for the one bug time that I had last year with the memory being wiped out. But other than that, I've noticed that over time, being up in the mountains, the screen on this one will tend to have condensation on the inside. And I don't know if that's a seal issue or what's going on with that, but it doesn't appear to affect the actual functionality of the radio, just the visibility part of it, which you could argue is the functionality part of the radio. So yes and no. Is it a bad thing? Maybe. But the radio has been working fine for me. I guess that would be another con of the radio, that it can get condensation on the inside. I do also have the accessory, the 3AA battery pack for this. It's a little bit bigger, it's bulkier. It's like you can mount 3 AA's in here, and you can use this radio with the AA adapter. Now, I noticed with some nickel metal hydride batteries for this radio, won't fit that adapter very well. In fact, it'll stick out, so you might have to remove the wrappers out of it. I've had some luck with the white end loop batteries, and pretty much any end loop batteries, because I think they make their batteries a certain millimeter of thickness, as opposed to, like, say, Energizer batteries that you'll find at like Home Depot. Those are a little bit more thicker on their wrapping, I think. I've had trouble trying to get those in here to use, so something to keep in mind with the accessory for the battery part. Otherwise, it's not too bad. I also have a battery eliminator for this as well, and it works pretty good. I got it off eBay for like $4. It's one of those aftermarket Asian ones, and so far it's worked pretty well. So I mean, there's a couple accessories you can get for this radio, and it makes it that much more appeasing. But I usually get the AA adapters for almost all my ham radios, and that's why I use them out in the field, because I can use it with AA batteries in my solar charging systems. In the other video, my VX7R video, I had out my PowerFilm AA solar charger. I'll just bring that out here so you can see that. It's got AA batteries here, and you can output either USB power or charge it with AA's. And what's nice about this is that it's lightweight and flexible. So that's what the PowerFilm AA battery power USB solar charger looks like. And I don't know if you can see it, the light blinking a little bit over here. My fingers are, there's a light right here. It is charging slightly in my room, a bit off the lamps that I have going. So it's not too bad of a charger. You could put nickel metal hydride batteries in here, and you can charge up your batteries for your radio. So I have a pretty extensive kit for maintaining batteries out in the wild if I need to. But overall, it's a great radio. If you can get one on eBay for about $200, $250, that's a pretty good buy. Anything below $200, if it's in good working order and condition, that's a good steal. These radios do have a great reputation. Yaesu's been around for a long time, and there's a lot of functionalities to it. I would go more into depth, but again, there's so much to talk about this radio. I don't think I could fit it into one video. But that's the overall view. This is the Yaesu FT1D, and thanks for watching.